You ever had one of those relatives that don't know you very well, but you had one conversation with 10 years ago in which you briefly mentioned sort of liking Lord of the Rings, so every fucking Christmas since they've gotten you a Lord of the Rings box set of some kind? I worry something like that has happened with me in AAA open world games. I worry they overheard me mentioning that I enjoyed Assassin's Creed 2 16 years ago, and now they think that's all I fucking want. Stealth action games with crafting and collectibles, except every now and again this relative gives me a bag of dog food and gently soiled wet wipes instead of Lord of the Rings, which in this analogy is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Considering that it was in my review of Ghost of Tsushima that I first coined the term Jiminy Cockthroat as a convenient short way of saying stealth action open world with crafting and collectibles, I wasn't holding out too much hope for Ghost of Yotei changing that trend much, and it absolutely bloody well doesn't, but at least it's a new remaster of The Lord of the Rings with a new John Rhys-Davies interview, and certainly shines in contrast to Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was a bag of particularly down-market dog food. The comparison is going to be inevitable because it's one for one the exact same plot of Assassin's Creed Shadows, right down to it opening with the protagonist weeping over her murdered family, while a bunch of dudes in masks stand silently in a line nearby trying to wordlessly prompt each other to apologise. The chief difference being that this is literally the very first thing you see, where in Ass-Bleed Baddoes it took about 3 hours of flapping about to get there. This all sets the tone for Yōtei being a much more straightforward experience, aiming more for pulpy samurai western revenge plot, dropping out all the confused stuff with the second protagonist and obligation to bring, quote, real history to life, so all the inevitable melodrama hits like a custard pie into the face of a respectable historical documentarian. No, it's just your name's Atsu, 6 powerful masked gits killed your whole family, kill all of them. Having now spent your entire teens learning the usual suite of Jiminy Cockthroat abilities. Fighting, throwing grappling hooks at contextual prompts, and the mysterious ability to become intangible while touching vegetation so it doesn't move when you crouch in it. On the outset, Yotei's strength as an open world is its focus on immersion. It's set up so you more stumble upon things than set objective markers and mindlessly beeline towards them, like Amy Winehouse noticing an unopened Bacardi Breezer, giving you a chance to appreciate the game's look without vomiting random icons all over the screen like Amy Winehouse after eating a smartphone. So I'm happily riding around the scenery thinking, blimey, how many fucking cherry blossoms does one particle engine need? When suddenly, bam! Ambushed by Ronin. Stab them all up, last one surrenders, gives you a lead on who would be most optimal to stab next, the adventure continues. Naturally, Ghost of Tsushima's characteristic feature where the wind blows in the direction of your objective has returned, and is still as atmospheric and immersive as it ever was, and it's still annoying that to trigger it you have to finger the trackpad on the controller, in the manner of a clumsy virginal prom date in the back of his rented limo trying to bring off his laptop. There's a few other, no doubt, company-mandated controller gimmicks. There's a little campfire minigame where you have to squeeze the triggers to blow on the sparks, and use the 6-axis to wave a fish on a stick, and it's all very pathetic, and the game loses nothing if you skip it. Now we can say the PS5 offers the quintessential Ghost of Yotei experience, Sony must have said, and apparently that involves being mildly annoyed with a trackpad covered in snot. But I'd say the defining moment of Ghost of Yotei came at around the midpoint of my playtime when after I very cinematically rode my horse across another bloody cherry blossom field and paused atop a hill to see the rolling landscape that would be the setting of the next chapter unfold before me, the sunrise behind the distant mountains framing the scene with perfect cinematography, and I said to myself, wow, I am so bored. Hello, ennui, my old friend. Because every chapter of the game's narrative was going through the same routine. Go to the inn for this area, get ambushed, fight the wise weapon master for this area, learn the new weapon, get ambushed, go after your target, try to ambush them, get double backseat reverse ambushed because it's too early to resolve the plot, and token support NPC for this area hasn't finished their story arc yet. Hold that thought, let's briefly weigh in on how the combat feels. It feels like you're playing a drum kit in the middle of a merry-go-round. Because every enemy just blocks all your hits till you break their guard with heavy attacks or perfect parry. And to perfect parry reliably, you can either learn all the timings and carefully watch their movements, or you can just keep tapping the block button like it's the hi-hat and that netted more or less identical results. Lose concentration for a moment and a dude will run in and just chomp all your health away with a 3-stab combo, so it hardly matters how many times you've bathed in a hot spring to increase max health by an inch, unless you're really invested in looking at someone's bottom, and thinking about it, you are currently browsing the internet, so I guess never mind. In short, direct combat is annoying. Thankfully you can stealth around some of it, and as in Tsushima you have the option to drop stealth and call out the enemy for a duel if you have sinned and wish to punish yourself. But it seems out of character for Atsu to do that, because she's a mercenary assassin, and as far as she's concerned, unblemished honour and a McChicken spicy is worth one mediocre dining experience. It's the tiresome predictability of the plot and its occasional loud embarrassing public disagreements with the interactive format that ultimately soured me. Guess it's spoiler time. Warning, the incy-wincy spoiler will be descending the waterspout for the remainder of this video. There's a bit where you infiltrate a palace and you're directly above the unwitting main villain and the assassinate prompt appears over their head, and I rolled my eyes knowing it was far too early for this to take, and indeed at some point between the rafters and the ground, Atsu is replaced by her incompetent twin sister, Cutscene Atsu, Katsune, who proceeds to completely fuck everything up, stabbing the floor 1 foot to the left, and so the plot must roll on for another tedious handful of hours. Oh, and later on we're introduced to a character's daughter who is spunky and precocious and the age Atsu was when her family were killed, and immediately I knew, with an unvibrating certainty I can't explain, that Atsu was going to be raising this kid by the end. And sure enough, I was right, but only because the kid's dad dies in the most infuriatingly pointless manner imaginable. We're mid-final boss fight and basically got the guy on the ropes when kid's dad pops up saying, "Hey, just making sure you're motivated enough." Well, I'm currently literally killing the guy, so I'd say so, dude. Could always have more. Get stabbed. Fucking cutscene Atsu strikes again. Yahtzee, it's pronounced Kutsune.